Hello, 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 hello. Welcome to Resistance Live for Monday, the 20th of May. And I'm like 2 minutes late. Well, not 2 minutes late, like 30 seconds late because the cross of Michael Cohen is finally over. It only took like an eternity to score any points. So that's done. There's a sidebar happening right now where Judge Merchan is deciding what's going to happen next in terms of redirect. But Michael Cohen's cross-examination, which felt like it went on for 84 years, has finally come to a close. All right. First things first, I'm ECM. I'm coming to you, as always, from occupied Tongva territory here in Southern California. Today, for our visually challenged viewers, I am wearing a pink ribbed tank top with a black jacket over top. I have my thin gold hoops in. I'm a pink-skinned, green-eyed, dirty, blonde-haired woman, and I am in my office in front of my plant and my lamp and my chair. Okay. So Michael Cohen is done on cross. He will be redirected, probably not for very long. There was a moment in this morning's, well, let me get to the first things first. We do have a delay, and it's not a small one, but in a weird sort of way, I'm not surprised. So before court started this morning, testimony started this morning, the judge and the lawyers had some early matters to take care of, and they started at 8:45 a.m. What we learned from this is that because of the current schedule, meaning like we're heading into Memorial Day weekend, there's no court on Friday, the jurors can't meet on Wednesday, which is what Merchan wanted initially. Merchan has now made the decision that we will not have closing arguments until next Tuesday, the day after Memorial Day. Now, in a weird sort of way, I'm not that upset about this. And I will tell you why. Because one of the things that is a little bit dangerous about an intervening 3-day weekend is that if the jury was charged by Merchan with the law as it applies to the facts, and of course, they have to evaluate how to apply the law to the facts because they're the arbiters of the value of the evidence in this environment, in terms of how it is applied to the law and whether or not he's innocent or guilty, or not, rather not even innocent, just guilty or not guilty. One of the dangers there is that the lag time would allow the jury to forget, maybe not have the instructions of the law as fresh in their minds as it needs to be. And so the judge has made a decision, and I think it's probably the right one in light of how this is shaking out, especially in the context of this morning, that having closing arguments next Tuesday, then instructions to the jury, and then sending the jury off to deliberate for the better part of 4 days is the most effective thing to do. All right. So it still means we could have a verdict by next Wednesday. Not terribly bothered by that as a prospect either. Okay. But it does mean that we are not going to have a verdict this week. And again, not particularly bothered by it. All right. Now, back to Michael Cohen and his cross-examination. The defense did sort of score a point this morning of which everyone should be aware, because I'm sure that there is going to be a lot of mainstream media like freaking out about this admission that was made by Michael Cohen today. But I want to put it in context. So Todd Blanche, who, by the way, has really irritated the judge today. Todd Blanche got up and asked a series of questions about, finally, it only took him like 3 days, but Todd Blanche finally got up and asked some questions about the structure of the reimbursement of the payment to Stormy Daniels. And in that context, he asked about how the numbers were graduated up. Now, you will all remember that there was a $130,000 payoff to Stormy Daniels. Michael Cohen was compensated for twice that. Why? Because of taxes. And this has to do with the fact that they decided to restructure the reimbursement, not as an expense, because that would have tied it as coming from the Trump organization, but as a repayment in the form of an alleged set of legal fee retainers, okay? So that meant that it was taxable income to Michael Cohen. And the number was doubled as a result. Now, the question that was asked by Todd Blanche was, did you steal from the Trump organization by doubling this? And Michael Cohen said yes. All right. Now, this is not the kind of thing that you would ordinarily think about when it comes to stealing from your employer. This is not embezzlement. This is not fraudulent expenses. This was an agreement to compensate Michael Cohen in a manner that would not require him to pay income taxes on the money he used off his HELOC to pay off Trump's porn star fling, in a manner that would allow him to be fully compensated for the money that he used. So folks should have a question about whether or not that actually is quote unquote stealing, okay? Because otherwise, Michael Cohen would only have been compensated for, let's just call it $65,000 of the $130,000 that he paid to Stormy Daniels. So I have a big question about whether or not that's really stealing. I'll just be honest. I mean, he did make the admission. I think they're going to rehabilitate it on cross. But the other thing I just want to point out here is, how many points do you actually score with a jury in getting a witness to admit that they quote unquote stole, with all of those caveats and contexts, when you're dealing with someone who is literally engaged in election interference by paying off someone that they had an extramarital fling with while their wife was postpartum, so that the story wouldn't break to the news and they could win the election, right? Like, it's not pretty, but I'm also not convinced it's like theft. And I'm also not convinced that it actually is going to end up scoring a lot of points with the jury. Why he would have said yes is anybody's guess. And, I think he's going to be rehabilitated on redirect with this. This is something that can be fixed by the prosecution quite easily. All right. And he did as well. There is this issue of Redfinch. Many of you know, if you've been following along, that Redfinch was this organization that Cohen paid to fix polls for Donald Trump. Let me say it again so that every time you see a poll, you think about this. It is an organization that Michael Cohen paid to fix polls for Donald Trump, just so we're clear on what we're dealing with. That payment was made in cash in a brown paper bag, and Michael Cohen skimmed some off the top for his own payment. All right. I'm just going to say this again. We're not dealing with angels in this case. All right. And obviously, Michael Cohen had very serious concerns about whether or not he was going to be paid back for all of these things that he had done for Donald Trump. Okay. Again, it's not going to be pretty. I suppose it reads as sleazy, but I'm not sure if it reads as sleazy as what Donald Trump did to Stormy Daniels and how he stole the 2016 election as a result. But again, I'm just going to point out, it's a den of thieves. And, you don't get innocent people with innocent motives getting into bed as Donald Trump's fixer. So we will see what happens when this is dealt with on redirect. But the other thing I just want to point out here is that the real issue here is whether or not the payments that were made to Michael Cohen were done by Donald Trump with the awareness that they were being fraudulently created to pay Michael Cohen back for paying off Stormy Daniels in violation of New York law and in furtherance of an election interference scheme. That's what really matters, not whether or not Michael Cohen took more money than he should have. Okay, because Michael Cohen is not on trial. So again, I want everybody to just take a deep breath. It's not great, but it's not disastrous. The mainstream media is going to spin this like it's like a huge ding. And I'm going to tell you that on redirect, they're going to try to repair it. And they will also, I'm certain, address it in closing arguments. All right. So everybody take a deep breath. Okay. I'm not that concerned about this one. I'm a little concerned. I mean, it's definitely more of a point than they had scored in the past. But on the other hand, I can see how the prosecution is going to fix it. And they may be fixing it right now while we're live on the air. Okay. Somebody asked a question about how the verdicts are going to be read when they are read. So let me just go through this process for everyone. I want folks to be aware that it is going to be filled out on a verdict form like it always is. They check off guilty or not guilty on every single count. The jury foreperson signs it. They convey it to the judge. The judge reviews the form, makes sure that everything is appropriately filled out and signed, and then hands the form to the clerk. And the clerk reads the verdict. Yes, it will be read count by count. Yes, all 34 counts will take a little bit of time. Not that big of a deal. Okay. All right. For those who are asking how Todd Blanche managed to annoy the judge, let me just make this very clear. This morning, prior to the testimony beginning, there was a hearing about evidence, and there was more discussion about the expert witness that they want to put on to testify about the ultimate issue of whether or not the conduct was actually election interference, which Mershon denied. But Emile Beauvais, who is, again, one of Trump's attorneys, got very animated, and the judge said to him, relax. And then Todd Blanche, when that in and of itself was a sign that Mershon was annoyed. And there was some reporting on his body language that he himself was like arms crossed, face scrunched, appeared to be trying to hold it together because he was really upset with Beauvais. Then Todd Blanche got up and did some things that are really not cool in this continued cross, like saying things like, the jury and I know exactly what you're doing, Michael Cohen. You know, you can't speak for the jury. And this is the second time that Blanche has tried this. There were objections. Those objections were sustained. He also took a really nasty, sneering tone with Cohen at certain moments, which, by the way, is not going to play well with the jury. You know, you're advised to not behave like this on cross-examination when they take you through trial advocacy. Bye. There we go. Boom. One of the things that you're trained to do is to always be respectful to witnesses, even when the witnesses are problematic. Now, are there moments when you can point out that the witness is a liar or that they have done something horrible? Yes, but you do not do the sort of pejorative, argument picking, nasty kind of thing on cross. People will try it in depositions when there's not a jury present, but doing that in front of a jury is considered to be like really bad form. And Blanche has been doing it over and over and over again. Okay, I'm going to say one thing here for our viewers on the feed. I'm going to take a momentary pause and say something that I said yesterday in Coffee Hour, okay? Because I just want to reiterate this for people who are here, okay? I love Jasmine Crockett. I understand exactly why she clapped back against Marjorie Taylor Greene. I deeply wish that she had not used the words butch body, and I will tell you why. Because that is the fact that that idea has become a joke is homophobic, because there's nothing wrong with having a butch body and there's nothing wrong with butch people. And I know that Jasmine was speaking on her feet, and I would like to give her the benefit of the doubt, but I personally find it extremely offensive that people have turned this into a running joke, let alone that folks are writing songs about it. I'm truly, truly bothered, and I'm not alone in that. And if you are somebody on this feed who thinks that this is worthy of a joke, or you do not understand in the context of which I am saying this, why it would be so offensive, particularly to butch people, I suggest you log off and don't return. Okay. So that's that. We do not attack other people's bodies, even in the face of our own bodies being attacked. That's at least my perspective. And I am not trying to tone police Jasmine Crockett, but I do want to say that I think the choice of words could have been better. And I am particularly bothered by the way in which people on our side of the fence have taken up that term as if it's okay to use as a slur and run with it into the horizon. Okay. I think we should drop it. And I think people should take a pause and understand that we have lots of LGBTQ people in this community, and your jokes about this are not welcome. I know, and I will just say this, yesterday on our Patreon only coffee hour, we had dozens of statements of gratitude from LGBTQ members in our community about the fact that I raised this and discussed it. So please take a breath. Don't bring that nonsense here. Okay. Back to Blanche. The judge was particularly bothered by the way in which Blanche was behaving. And I am not surprised by this one bit. My view on this is that Blanche has been taking instructions from Donald Trump. There was a reference this morning in some of the reporting from the New York Times and others that in particular, it appeared that Blanche was trying to behave like Roy Cohn. Many of you know Roy Cohn, fixer, attorney, notorious bad actor, was known by Donald Trump's father, and Donald Trump has often said that he wants his own quote unquote Roy Cohn. I think that Todd Blanche has not only tanked his career, but I also think that he's in danger of actually having damaged the case here because of the manner in which he has behaved in this cross-examination. And I am not going to say anything other than the fact that it is a very bad idea to take your legal strategy from Donald Trump. Okay. There was an order yesterday in Judge Cannon's courtroom that I want to just discuss for a moment. And it's not a significant order, okay? But meaning that it's not significant to like the trial calendar or anything like that. It's significant to classified documents. What I want to point out about this, though, is that the order was yet again an opportunity for Judge Cannon to like chastise Jack Smith's team for allegedly not doing things right. Okay, I was asked a lot of questions on the Patreon feed about the nature of this order. We don't really actually need to discuss the details of it because it just relates to SEPA, which we've discussed here before, which is, the Procedures Act for how you deal with classified information when you're at trial. One of the things, though, that people should be aware of is that we are continuing to get signals over and over and over and over and over again of the way in which Judge Cannon at this moment is not acting as an ordinary jurist would. And this is yet another example. I personally am just like waiting for the mandamus motion to the 11th Circuit. You all can go back and watch the broadcast that I did about a month ago now about how mandamus works and what it is that Jack Smith could do to try to get Eileen Cannon removed from the case. We've all been waiting for that. We've all anxiously been waiting for the possibility of it, I think. And we will see what happens next. And one of the things that folks should just be aware of here is that Cannon continues to rack up these indications of extreme bias. And every single time that she does this, it's more evidence for Jack Smith's eventual brief to the 11th Circuit on mandamus of why it is that she should be removed from the case. And one other thing I just have to remind everybody of here, particularly if you are expressing frustration about this and why it hasn't happened yet, is that mandamus is a one-shot deal, okay? I mean, yes, you can file it multiple times, but it would be dumb. Jack Smith has to know when he files for mandamus that he has got her locked for removal, because if he loses, he will go back down to try perhaps the most significant classified materials case in American history. There might be a few exceptions to that. I'm thinking about Aldrich Ames, but he would have to go back and take that case back down before her and try her after trying to get her removed by the 11th Circuit. So we want him to do it right. We want him to do it right. And I will just tell you that I trust his judgment in this regard. I don't think that he's delaying for an extended period of time for some reason. I think he's making sure that he's got all his ducks in a row. And that is exactly what we want here. Okay. So we will see what happens with that. Okay. Michael Cohen is heading into redirect. I'm going to remind you all that after redirect is over, the prosecution is going to close their case in chief. That means that we will then get to see whatever kind of defense it is that Donald Trump's team decides to come up with. Their expert has been gutted at this point. We know that their expert is not going to be able to testify in the manner that Trump wanted based on the ruling from Merchan this morning. And we don't know whether or not they've got any alleged fact witnesses that they're going to try to put up. And I will just tell you right now, I think there is literally no chance that Donald Trump's going to testify. I could be wrong. I'm still calling it at 99 to 1% chance. But I personally think that it is extremely unlikely that we will see Donald Trump on the stand, which may mean that at this stage of the game, we may not actually have much more trial testimony this week. And so we will see what happens, but I'm just going to tell you, they do not have a coherent theory of their defense case that we have seen. Again, many people pointed out this morning that Todd Blanche has been all over the place, and it took 9 hours of cross-examination for him to actually get to the meat of the case. They don't seem to have any theory. They're stretching things out, but the case is coming to an end, and they don't seem to have an active defense. So we will see what happens this afternoon. If necessary, I will, of course, be back here for an emergency broadcast. I want to make a quick announcement. We now have memberships available on this channel. If you like what you see here, you can click the join button below this broadcast, and you can get like custom emojis and badges and all sorts of other good things if you join us. And there will also be in various tiers like behind the scenes stuff and photos and updates and things like that. So you can join as a member here if you want to support the broadcast here. But I also want to remind you all that if you want to ask me questions, there's only one place to do that. And that is at patreon.com/resistancelive. You can join us over there for as little as $5 a month. That's less than 20 cents a broadcast, and get you into Progressive Coffee Hour every Sunday, which is like super fun. And also where I kind of like am much more free speaking than I am here on the public broadcast about a lot of things. Okay, last thing, we have about 2650 of you live on here today. Please hit the thumbs up on this broadcast. Please subscribe here to this channel if you have not yet done so, and share this with all your friends, okay? Because everybody deserves to know all this good information so they know how to regulate what's really happening and know what to freak out about and what not to freak out about. And today, even with the ding against Michael Cohen, I'm only like mildly agitated. So that's what I would recommend to everyone. All right. Much love to all of you. Chances are very solid that I will see you here this afternoon. Yes, the jury is tired, by the way. There's a lot of reporting about this, that the jury is exhausted. They were bored during Michael Cohen's final minutes of cross, that they were rubbing their eyes, that they wanted out, they just wanted it to come to an end, and they're exhausted. I mean, how could you not be, right? I think that the other thing I'll just say here is that Blanche has not done a good job of keeping the jury entertained, and you do not want a 9-hour cross of your most important witness when the jury's bored or tired or not engaged. Okay, so that's that. Much love to everybody. I will probably catch you here later on this afternoon. Reminder, if you are a Patreon subscriber, you will have an early warning about that. So head on over there if you have not. And thanks to all of you who I'm seeing sign up to be members here on the channel itself by clicking join below. That rocks. And I will catch you all here either later on today or tomorrow at regular time. Thanks so much, everybody. I'll see you soon. All right, bye.